Howdy folks, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician here. I'm making another video for you out of the Boise, Idaho area. Man, I've got some pretty crazy stuff to cover with you on this video, but just, before we get started, check out how things are going, guys. We're getting more professional here. There's Randall, there's Isaac, and we've got Braxton. I'll tell you something, everybody out there, I've got a good group of guys working with me, and it is awesome. Okay, so let's talk about crazy anomalies and wild things that happen in this business and things that we see as a professional mechanic. So we have this Subaru that we've been working on here, and there's a pretty crazy story behind it. So I'm going to pass the camera over to Braxton, and I'm going to point and explain all this to you. There you go, bro. All right. Okay, so Braxton has the camera. Okay, so we have this Subaru, and it's an extremely nice lady. She's actually a teacher, and I greatly respect that. I think that's really neat. So she brings it in the beginning, and it had a misfire, and it was running extremely rough, and it had even died on her a couple times. So we went ahead and diagnosed it, and we found oil-soaked spark plugs and oil-soaked ignition coils, and we found intake leaks and all that other stuff. So bottom line, it was time to do some maintenance, to replace the intake gaskets and the coils and the valve cover gaskets. And in order to do that on this engine, it's a little more complicated than your average tune-up, because you do have to remove the engine mount bolts and kind of jack the engine up a little bit and get in there, and you have to remove these three components: the power steering pump, the alternator, and the AC and all that, and so it takes some time, and you do have to remove the belt. So as part of that job, replacing the intake gaskets, the ignition coils, and the spark plugs, we also replaced the serpentine belt. So here in our shop, one of the things that we do when we finish a job is we take it for a pretty extensive test drive. And if you know anything about computers on cars, then you'll know that a computer or a check engine light will cycle through and kick on every 30 miles. So we normally take every vehicle post-op check for a 30 to 40 mile test drive to ensure everything's going to be working good and the check engine light doesn't come on and all that other stuff. So we finished that job, and that is what we did. We took it for a about 35 mile test drive. Everything checked out. She took the car back, and let me tell you, man, I'm in the shower at like 6:30. I ended my day, and my phone rings, and it's this poor lady, and she is on the side of the road because it felt like the power steering went out. And I'm sitting here scratching my head going, what in the heck could have taken place in a matter of hours that now put this car on the side of the road? So I go ahead and I get in my car and I drive up there, and we come out and we find that the belt tensioner had broke. It broke a bolt here. Actually, where's that bolt? Right here, which I ended up drilling out. We stuck another one in there, but this thing broke and came off. Okay, and so in turn that threw the belt off, and that caused, the car to break down. So is that anything that we touched? The only thing we did with this belt tensioner was put the belt tool on it and move it back and forth so we could get the belt on and off, right? We didn't remove this tensioner, we didn't mess with this tensioner, we didn't touch this tensioner. So is it our fault that it broke? Not necessarily. But here's the deal. In this business, I've come to learn you have a few different choices, and we're ultimately here to serve the community and the people. So the first thing I told her was, hey, I'll tell you what, go ahead and get the vehicle towed back to the shop and pay for the tensioner. I won't charge you any labor, and we'll get it fixed up for you. No labor, just pay for the part and pay for the tow to get it back. So in the end, she was happy with that, and I felt like that was completely fair. So the next day, we get a new belt tensioner on it, and at this point, I tell my guys, I say, hey, take it for a 60-mile test drive. And, that's long enough that if anything's going to go wrong with this stinking thing, then it's going to go wrong, and we can deal with it and all that other stuff. So I'm really not expecting anything to go wrong, right? Well, they get about, again, around mile 35, 40, and I had already checked in with them and asked, hey, how's the test drive going? And hey, it's going great, it's running good. And next thing I know, man, my phone is ringing, and it's my guys, and they're on the side of the road with this thing, and it's blowing white smoke and cooling all over the place, man, and it's like, you gotta be kidding me. So, longer story short, much longer story short, I have them check the inlet tube on the top of the radiator. Now come over here and check this out, guys. First of all, look how gross this radiator is. It's just nasty, man. So I have them check the inlet tube on the radiator, and look what happened here. This piece of the inlet tube right here on the radiator has cracked, and it came off, right? And it blew the radiator hose off. This piece right here, there was a plastic ring inside of the hose, okay? So our theory is, and of course, this had to happen on our test drive, our post-op test drive. We're the ones driving it while it happens, right? So our theory that we ended up coming up with, even though we didn't see it, is when this tensioner broke and came off, it ended up slinging around and it hit, because that inlet hose is about right here. So I suspect this tensioner came off and came up, and it hit that radiator and inlet hose, and so it cracked it and weakened it, and then on our final 30-mile, 40-mile test drive or what have you, it broke. So, what do they call it? Isn't there a book? Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events. Isn't there something like that, Braxton? Like, I think this would be something like that. Like, we totally have a Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events. And I mean, I feel like as a business owner and a mechanic, I feel like at that point you really have two choices. You can either say it is what it is and it's not our fault, and charge the customer, tell them sorry for your problems, but you need to pay to have this fixed because it's nothing that we did, or even send them on down the road. And a lot of people are probably thinking, well, if you send your customer on down the road, then you're losing customers. There's something I learned in this. You can be a completely dishonest mechanic and lose customers on a daily basis. There is so much work out here, guys, as far as automotive repair goes, and such a shortage of mechanics that it doesn't matter. There will always be work. So at that point, you have two choices. Corner your customer where they have no choice but to pay you and do the work. It's not your fault. Go home and go to bed and not think twice about it. Or you can work with your customer, help your customer, and in turn, hopefully buy a loyal customer. So, in this situation, what we are doing is we are eating the cost of replacing the radiator for this customer. We will pay for it. We're covering it all the way across the board. And the reason for that is because it happened while it was on our watch, and it happened while our staff and guys were driving it. So I think morally and ethics and business and all that other stuff, I think that's the correct thing to do. So that is absolutely what we're doing. And now that we've actually gotten into it, even though it's been a stressful situation for everybody, now that we actually gotten into it, we're looking at it going, man, it's a kind of a good thing that this did happen to us, because this thing is trashed. Just already trashed. So I'd be willing to bet the family farm it had only been a matter of months before we would have needed to replace the radiator anyway. So there you go, folks. That's, I don't know what your thoughts and opinion are on that. I've actually had quite a few people tell me, no, you need to charge her, no matter what. But I just don't agree with that. I agree with doing good business and going ahead and taking care of it for her, and then moving on to the next one. So all right, guys. Well, hey, if any of you guys have any questions or need any help with any of your personal projects you got going on, shoot them to us in the comments. This YouTube channel I've been building has absolutely turned into an awesome community of other mechanics and other people. So I've noticed that people just share what they've experienced or how they're doing jobs and whatnot, and it's really awesome. So yeah, if you have any questions or need any help, shoot them in the comments. I'm pretty sure either myself or somebody else will answer you. And then I myself have been known to trade emails and phone numbers, so I'll walk you through a procedure or something. On the channel, guys, there's a new tab down there. I don't know. I noticed these YouTubers, they do this cool thing, so the tab's down there somewhere or down there somewhere. Anyways, there's a super thanks tab somewhere in this area. And if you click on it, if the video has helped you in any form or fashion and you click on that, I guess you can kind of put a little donation on there for us. And so if you would do that, I would greatly appreciate it. That would definitely help support the channel and everybody involved. So, all right, guys. Well, this is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, and we are signing off.